Okay, we are recording.
Wonderful. All right, thank you for joining us tonight. It is 9 o'clock on May 25th, 2017. We are here with Carmen Darland, who is going to be doing a presentation covering the 2018 long ballot year. Now, as you know, here with 92 County Strategy, we do advocate for progress through civic education, and one of the ways we do that are through these webinars. Our goal is to teach people that politicians are just everyday people, and to encourage people to get involved and teach them different ways to go about doing that. It's a free program, and we freely hand out information. That way no one is bound to anything that prevents them from being a part of something bigger than them. And hopefully you learned something here tonight, and if you have any questions, you can always reach out to us through our website at in92.org. So we'll go ahead and get started with the program here. Now, Carmen has been a longtime progressive activist in Indiana. I was lucky enough to meet her recently through the Emerging Leaders Project, and she's someone that I really respect quite a lot. She's the Noble County Vice Chairwoman. She's also a precinct committee person in Noble Township. She co-founded the Emerging Leaders Project, and she was the 3rd District Chairwoman of the Democratic Party for a number of years, and actually sat on the State Central Committee, and she was also the former Noble County Chair. So a lot of experience here in and around what we're trying to do and educate people on. And Carmen, I really appreciate you helping us out with this and showing everybody how to make their voice heard. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, and hopefully we'll learn some things tonight.
Okay, great. Thanks, Amanda, and thanks to everyone who joined us tonight. My goal tonight is to give you introductory resources about the 2018 long ballot year. It truly is the long ballot year. In counties like mine, there are over 80 offices that will be on the ballot, so there is a lot of recruiting to do. There are lots of opportunities to be candidates, and we won't be able to get to all the specifics, but we can show you where to find more information about what you may be interested in. Whether that's offices up for election, we're going to have a signature process again in the U.S. Senate race. There will be party positions or 2 party positions up for election during the primary this coming year. And we're going to do a quick slide about campaign finance. Very important to keep that in mind whenever you're doing anything inside the political circle.
Absolutely. We always want to make sure you have your money in order. So if anybody has any questions, you can go ahead and drop them in the chat online, or unmute yourself now, and we'll go ahead and take questions and make sure you're caught up and in place with us.
Okay. We are going to go ahead and get started then. So online resources for the basics of information. When we flip through these slides, you're going to see a variety of red arrows. Pay attention to those. Those are the key places we're going to talk about on these websites. The first website I want to talk about is the Indiana Secretary of State website, so in.gov/SOS. This is the election division tab of that. In the election division tab, we're going to talk about the staff of the Indiana election division, who are all fabulous resources if you have legal or campaign questions. The voter information, candidate information as a candidate, where to find forms, where to find filing dates, and then campaign finance. Again, the 4th arrow there will be something that we go over.
Now, if you were going, say it's the first time you've ever been to this website, which one of these tabs, which one of these red arrows do you think a person should visit first?
Well, it probably depends on what you're looking for. If you have something that is a question you need answered right now, I would say the IED stats is probably the place you go to, which is the first section that we're going to go over. The site I visit most often involves candidate information, which is also where the party information is stored. When you need filing dates, that's where the key thing that I use it for.
Wonderful. Okay.
So on the IED staff page, three names highlighted here. These are our Democratic representatives at the Indiana Election Division. Angie Nussmeyer is the co-director, Max Achiever is the co-legal counsel, and then Abby Taylor is the contact for campaign finance. So their information is there. They're very prompt in answering questions via email or phone call, so can't say enough great things about how helpful this group is. And these are the key people to contact if you have any questions about any of this, and they can point you in the right direction.
Yeah, they're absolutely wonderful. Anybody listening, if you ever want to call up there, please do not be hesitant. They really are great, and there are no dumb questions. They would rather you ask than be wrong.
Right. So examples of things, anything legal or technical about running for office, anything that has to do with the Indiana Code itself, campaign finance, any of the forms that need filed for any context of running for office, the deadlines for the activities and filings, and they also produce the Indiana Candidate Guide for each cycle. They make copies of this and bind them that you'll see passed out at a variety of events, but it's also available online if you prefer to save the paper. The content is there for you to reach at your fingertips for each cycle. The 2018 one is not up yet, so we're going to be referencing the one they did for 2016.
Okay.
The voter information portal, that was the second arrow. This is where you can get information on voter registration, absentee voting. In some of our areas, college voting is important, so to being able to determine where a college student might vote, information about that. Information, of course, we want our folks in the military to be voting in elections. So the fourth arrow down there, military and overseas voters, this is where you would find information and forms for that. And then that outreach publication that I was discussing earlier. When you get in the outreach publication tab, again, the calendar, I can't stress enough how much you need to understand when the deadlines are for the variety of activities with the election. Sometimes the filings are due by noon on a certain day, and it'll be specified in that election calendar exactly what you need to file and the deadline for it to be filed. Something else that I think is a good tool is the poll worker information guide. Especially in a state like ours, it's super important that poll workers know what their rights and responsibilities are in the case that there is any difficulty at the poll, and to make sure that everyone's vote is counted and we have voter protection in the state of Indiana.
Wonderful. And that guide, if anybody here has not worked the polls before, they are really, these are some great resources, and you can get copies of these from your clerk's office to hand out to people when you're registering voters too.
Yeah, so this is an example of that poll worker guide, and it is longer than this, but just basic information about what it is to work the polls and how you need to do the training. They really try at the Election Division to put out as many tools as possible to help people through the process. And again, if there are ever any questions, they are happy to answer them for you. Okay, under the candidate information, we have the group of 5 arrows in the middle there that we're going to go through. The candidate guide, election calendar, campaign finance. Political signs and disclaimers are usually a lot of questions about that. They do make a brochure that helps to clarify how a disclaimer needs to look, so paid for and authorized by whomever, and what situations you need to make sure that you're labeling with those disclaimers. For example, do you need it on a t-shirt? Do you need it on a button? How does it work for a commercial? Those kinds of things are all covered in the disclaimers brochure. They do have a training, an online training that you can use too, Campaign Finance School, that will give you more basics about how campaign finance works.
A nice resource.
So the candidate guide, this is the one they bind up and pass out. It is over 100 pages of information, but it is very specific and specific to the year. So all of the appropriate forms for 2018 will be bound into this candidate guide document. So everything from filing your initial campaign committee to what a campaign finance form would look like, or if you need to add someone after filing deadlines, all of those forms will be available in the candidate guide. And then they reference the appropriate code in the guide in case you need more information.
So what you're telling me is they give a whole lot of information to help make sure that you know what to do. So you don't have to be up to date on all of this stuff to be able to decide to run for office. There are resources out there to help teach you how to do this and guide you through the process.
Correct. And the goal here tonight is just to show you where to find it. Obviously, we can't go through 100 pages of legal information, but by showing you where to find the guide, for example, if you wanted to run for township trustee, there will be a whole tab in that guide about running for township trustee with the associated codes, and then it'll tell you which forms you need to file for that office, for instance.
Oh, that's great. Okay. Wonderful.
So the other thing on here is the campaign finance. We're still on the Secretary of State's Election Division website. So again, full of information here if you're new or have additional questions. Campaign finance reporting schedule, very important. And then the forms start at the bottom of this. The statement of organization is usually the first form that you'll need to fill out. Okay, that was everything I had to point out on the Secretary of State's websites for this section. The Federal Election Commission is for U.S. Senate or U.S. Congress. Those are the only two offices that would be involved during this cycle with the FEC. So if you're running for anything else, you don't have to worry about the FEC website, but all other offices are under the state of Indiana jurisdiction. Another key website, Indiana Democratic Party website. If you aren't familiar with who your representation is from the Democratic Party, you can find both members of the State Central Committee that may be from your district or area, as well as county party information like your county chair would be listed here if you have additional questions.
Okay.
So
now I know Carmen is here. Well, just to clarify, I know Carmen is here with us, and she's a wonderful resource in the Democratic Party, but 92 County Strategy is based on progress and not party, so keep in mind that there may be other resources with other parties that also have good information, so don't be hesitant to look for those as well. So, but the NDEM's website does have a lot of great information to help teach you how to maneuver inside of that if that's something you want to do.
Correct. So a review of the websites that I covered here, again, the Secretary of State website is probably the primary website that most folks would be dealing with. If you are in a federal race, it would be the Federal Election Commission website. If you are running for a Democratic Party office, it would be important to reference the NDEMS page to ensure that you know the appropriate contacts inside the party for your area. And then we'll be posting this presentation and many other supporting presentations at in92.org.
Wonderful. Yeah, we'll have these archived for you. We're still working on getting the downloads and the conversions because they're recorded in a different format and getting them uploaded to our website, but I'm hoping to have that taken care of in the next several days. So keep an eye out for that, and I'll send an email when that's done. So with that, we're up to taking questions again. Did anyone have any questions about any of the websites and resource information that Carmen has gone over with us so far tonight? We'll give about 20 seconds if somebody wants to unmute themselves and ask a question.
Okay.
Yeah, nobody's, we're good.
Okay, great. So offices up for election for your area. Something that is important to know is each county may not have the same offices up for election each year. So clerks in one county may be on a different cycle than clerks in an adjacent county. So it's really important that you do something specific for the area you're living There are a few ways to do that. First, the direct route is to call your county clerk and request the office list for 2018. That's the surefire way to make sure it's correct. Also, your county chair should have that list available for 2018. And of course, the election division, which we just covered that on the Secretary of State website, you make the same request. Another way to do that and use comparable past elections for us this year, you would use 2014 as the comparable year. It may not be 100% accurate, but it'll give you a pretty good idea, is to just search for it online, look at the 2014 results. For statewide and federal offices, we're back to in.gov/SOS. You can find out, again, who your elected officials are, what the results of past elections were. So you can look online. Here, in the election results, again, you just go to the appropriate year. You would go to past election results down here, and 2014 would be a choice. And you can look at what the results of the offices were for the election and know that unless something has changed inside your county, like a redistricting or something like that, that pretty much those offices that you see from 2014 will repeat in 2018. And when you're in
which is important here. I just want to say real quick, it's important here for everybody to realize that 2014 was the year that we had the lowest voter turnout in the nation in the state of Indiana. It is why I am dedicated to 92 county strategy, and it's why I feel like it's so important. So go back and look at that 2014 ballot and realize that's the one no one showed up for. So let's make sure we pick an office that speaks to us and try and make sure we advocate for it because we need it.
I'm from Noble County, so in that election results, again, you can pull down by county. This is on the Secretary of State website. Very, very helpful for base information. Okay, the other way is to Google it. It doesn't sound very fancy, but just Googling the information should give you information about the election results for your county. In my county, for instance, they have an old website versus a new website, so this is a little tricky, and each county is running it differently, but usually the Google result will give you an election summary page, which looks like this. So Noble County election results for 11/4/2014. We do know that in Noble County we had 35% turnout that year, 9,042 votes, and a 25,743 eligible. And then it goes down and breaks down the results by office. So there in the Secretary of State line, you'll see there were 8,663 votes cast. Also pointing out over here to the left, you can get the summary by precinct. So if you are a precinct committee person or handle just an area of a county, that's a way to see how your precinct itself performed.
That's an interesting little factoid and bit of research right there.
So be sure to keep scrolling down to see all of the offices. Again, this is the long ballot year, and that's no joke. For example, this is a school board election that I highlighted, 333 total votes. So, you know, just over 100 votes, the difference between the winner and second place. So there are a lot of different types of offices that you can run for, and some of them will be very limited in scope as far as geography and how many voters you need to reach out to.
It's always a great starting place. School board, township trustee, these are great starting places for people that are interested in getting into the political scene. Let's see.
Have any questions?
Not seeing anything so far. A lot of this so far is basic, but the research sources are really great information. So I love that. Maybe we can put something together with that. All right.
The next thing I wanted to cover then is the signature process for the U.S. Senate seat. For those who helped collect signatures in the presidential race last time, this will sound very familiar. It's exactly the same process, but with senators this time. We only have the U.S. Senate that we're going to be collecting signatures for this time. The CAN 4, please be certain you're using the 2018 form. They do update these forms each cycle. So if you have some leftover signature forms from the 2016 cycle, please throw those away. Make sure that you're turning in signatures on the correct year or they won't be valid signatures. You need 500 registered voters from each congressional district to make the ballot, theoretically. Of course, our current Senator Todd Young, it seems he maybe had 497 or 498 in one county, but in one district, but 500 is the number threshold you're supposed to reach. Most campaigns will try to collect 800 plus signatures per district, and that's because so many signatures are considered invalid once they're considered. Petition carrier, you do have legal responsibility for that petition, so please handle it as such. We're going to go through a petition here just in a second. Getting those numbers, 500 and 800 signatures, it's tougher than it sounds. Getting people to sign the form and making sure the signatures are legit and that the form is filled out properly, it really is a big job, and it's important to start early.
Definitely.
That 2018 form, again, not up on the Secretary of State website just yet, but when they are, you'll go to that handy-dandy in.gov/SOS website, and that's where this will be. The CAN 4, and I'm going to go through the 2016 one again here in a second, you must fill the boxes out completely, and the petition carrier must fill out their section completely. Examples of common mistakes are things like ditto marks, where if you are collecting signatures, say, in the Fort Wayne area, and so folks are writing their address, and then it's Fort Wayne. At the end of it, the person below them will put the ditto mark in the Fort Wayne area. That can be considered an invalid entry, an invalid signature. So please make sure that you're filling the forms out completely. Candidates usually ask that the forms be returned to them for counting and verification. So usually when the request comes out from each candidate, they'll tell you where to mail it in or who will be collecting them for their area. If you are ever in doubt about a line in your counting and trying to make sure you have 500, if you're in doubt, assume it doesn't count. That's the safest way to make sure you get enough. So here is a scanned form, and it is a little bit quite not straight there. But red arrows here, arrow, county, you need to fill in the county of the folks that are signing the form. This is something that does get tricky. If you're in a large event, you need to keep these forms separate for each county, because what you're going to be doing is turning it into the county clerk. So if you're at a big event, let's use Fort Wayne again as an example, and that event pulls from DeKalb County and Whitley County and Noble County and Jay County, and they're all going to this Allen County event, you're going to have to keep separate sheets for each county, because in the end, the Jay County signatures will go to the Jay County clerk, the Whitley County signatures will go to the Whitley County clerk, and so on. So that county line is important at the top. For most folks on this call, we would assume you would be collecting for the Democratic Party. You're going to have the candidate name with their address, which the candidate will supply for you, and which office they're running for. In this case, it'll be U.S. Senate. And this is the signature part. The signature itself usually is not incredibly legible, believe it or not, but it's the printed name, first name, last name, filling out the birth date appropriately, month, day, year, just like that. And this is the city or town and zip code, and that's the part that lots of times people want to put those ditto marks on. Please don't do that, because they may not count. And here at the bottom, now, this is the part. Go ahead.
I was going to say, now one thing I did notice collecting signatures last year, how there's the city, town, and zip code section. If you'll notice, the next section after that says office use only. A lot of people try to put their zip code in there. So what we did is we took Post-it notes and we just stuck a Post-it note on it so people wouldn't mess with it.
Oh, that's a
It
great
seemed to
idea.
be the most effective. Yeah. It's something that happened consistently. So heads up for that.
Yeah. So at the bottom here is this petition carrier certification. This does have to be filled out for the petition to be valid. You are going to sign it as a petition carrier, print your name, your date of birth, the date you signed it, full address and zip code, and again it spells it out, street, city, and zip. Needs to be complete in order for this petition to be valid. So please, the devil's in the details on this one. Make sure you fill it out completely and as accurately as possible, and make sure you sign it and get it back to the candidate or clerk if you're sending it in direct.
Now, just to be clear, I have a question. So on that form, on the CAN 4, so, you know, when you're registering voters and you're holding the voter registration forms, you have to turn them in a certain amount of time or else you can get in trouble. So is that form is this form like this? Is there a certain amount of time you can hold on to this, or can you theoretically collect signatures for 6 months and turn them all in at once?
That's exactly what happens. You don't have to turn it in within a specified time period in this case, but there is a deadline for the endpoint. So as soon as this form goes live on the Secretary of State website, you'll start seeing pushes for people to collect signatures in the Senate race. And they will collect them at events, fairs, all summer, all fall. And, you know, they like to get it wrapped up a couple months before the deadline if they can, just to feel safe and not be rushed when the filing period actually opens. What they prefer to do is take all of their completed signatures on in the first day or so and drop them off, and then that part of the process is done for them.
Okay, good, thank you. Does anybody else have any questions? If you do, go ahead, unmute yourself or type it in the chat box online and we'll get your question answered today. And remember, if you come up with a question after this, you can always email it to us at 92counties@gmail.com. All right, we're about 9:26. We're about halfway in tonight. So keep up with us. It's a lot of information, but it's good information, and we really appreciate you, Carmen, doing this for us. So looks like next up we have party positions.
Yes, party positions up for election. In 2018, there are 2 types of party offices up for election. First, these are political offices and not elected offices under code, so there's some difference there. You must have voted the last primary with the party or get a letter from your county chair certifying that you're a party member to run for either of these 2 offices that we're going to cover. And then you're going to file what's known as a CAN 37 form at the county clerk's office prior to the deadline, January and February of 2018, to run for these offices. So the first office we're going to cover is State Convention Delegate. The State Convention will be held in the summer of 2018. You'll file your CAN 37 during January and February to run. Again, all you have to do to be eligible is have voted in the primary that matches in the last corresponding primary. So if you voted Democratic in the 2016 primary, you would be eligible to be a Democratic State Convention delegate in 2018, or get a letter from the county chair if you did not do that. Once the filing deadlines have passed, county chairs can fill vacancies after the primary is over. But the most direct way to participate and become part of the state convention process, where things like resolutions and all kinds of inter-party workings happen at a state convention. So if you'd like to be part of that, it's an easy way to get involved and to learn about the process.
Now, for those of you that don't know, when Carmen referred to resolutions, in layman's terms, those are rule changes within the party. So if there's some rules you don't like and you want to change them, running for a state delegate's a great idea to get your voice in there.
Well, not just rules, but also positions. So if
that's true.
I've seen someone floating around resolution idea about public education, putting more support toward public education, for instance. Those kinds of things can be debated and put through the resolution process at the state convention. So again, the very details of the things that become the platform once you vote for, that happens at a state convention. Not in 2018, but in the presidential years, that's where you elect your national committee to go to the national convention. So again, lots of internal workings. It's a great way to get involved and learn more about the process. Precinct committeeman is the other party office that's up. This is the most grassroots level of the organization. The definition of what the precinct committeeman does varies from county to county in most cases, but it's the very grassroots work. It's the lowest level of getting involved right at the ground, and it's where you can make the most difference with your work, in my opinion. So you elect your county chair, you go to your county organization, you become part of that process. You also appoint your vice committeeman, so you can have some help in your precinct. Again, you just file that CAN 37 form during the filing period, and you have to vote it in the corresponding primary or have that letter from the county chair. Again, if there's a vacancy in your area, the county chair can fill the vacancy after the primary is over. Questions about those two?
No, I don't think so. It's a pretty quiet night. Let's see. We do have a question. We have had one pop up. Catherine Haddow, I believe she's up from around District 1. She has asked, she thought that the vices were also elected.
No. Vices are appointed by the elected precinct committee person. And we would have to go back and review this, Amanda. I believe it's 3 days or 5 days post the election. It's just a very short period after the election that the elected precinct committee person appoints their vice to the county chair. If they miss,
yeah, I'm almost positive it's 3 days.
Yeah, if they miss that deadline with their county chair, however, then that appointment can go back to their county chair. So that's where you know, hitting that deadline, being aware of the deadline is important to, you know, have input on who represents your home area.
Yeah, absolutely. And you don't want to get paired with someone that you just don't work well with or doesn't work well in at all.
Mm-hmm. Right. So I have a single slide here at the end we're going to cover about campaign finance, and I'm sure along the way 92 County Strategy will have a training dedicated just to the campaign finance forms because it's so detailed. But we can't stress enough just being aware that campaign finance likely impacts you if you are running for office. It's super important. So most campaigns, there are exemptions for very small campaigns like most school board races. Some trustee races would be below what the thresholds are and may not need to file something. PACs, political organizations, these all require campaign finance. Always keep your campaign money separate from your personal money. That's the best advice I can give. It's the easiest way to keep track of it. And then if there are any questions later on, you can easily show folks what your footprint was financially and make sure all the numbers match up. Your report will either be filed at your county clerk, the state election division, or the federal election division based on office. So again, ask for clarification from your county clerk or the election division to find out which forms you need to file, if you need to file them, and what schedule will apply to you. Prior to declaring or accepting donations, you don't want to start taking money toward your campaign until you understand how you need to account for that money from a campaign finance standpoint. And that was the last slide I think I had. Do we have any questions?
I'm not seeing anything. Everything that this was really great. This was so much good information. Catherine says the Our Revolution site. What about it, though? said that precinct committee people,
Mhm.
it's coming through a sentence at a time, 1 second.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Catherine. She says I can only type so fast. All right, well, you get it in there, and then I'll ask it all at once. So, but this is the information that I mean, between the Secretary of State's website and all the information on there, I mean, as behind as Indiana is in things, I have to admit, I'm surprised that there is so much available online. That's really wonderful. And then the forms. So is it normal that the forms aren't out yet? Does that come out soon?
Usually they come out in June, so we're a little bit early.
In June.
Usually
okay.
it's sometime in June the forms get updated, and again, you'll see those forms for signatures at county fairs, and all the time folks will be clearing around clipboards trying to get those signatures done. So the sooner you get enough, the easier it is. Nothing stinks more than having it be January and be about 100 short and having to do some outside in the cold kind of work to get to the correct number.
I remember that. I did that. Okay, so Catherine has said that she is under the impression that precinct people are involved in the nominating process. They get to vote on the official Democratic slate.
I'm not sure, Catherine, what level you might be discussing. Technically, they would be involved at the county level to vote for county chair, county vice chair, secretary, and treasurer. That would be the official voting capacity as a precinct committee person.
Mm-hmm. Yes, unfortunately, you'll have to, there's a little bit of an expletive there. You'll have to actually, to affect higher levels, you just have to work your way up within the party. So, you start out as a precinct committee person, and you can vote on your county leadership. And then if you yourself become county leadership, you vote on your district leadership. And then if you yourself become district leadership, you vote on state leadership. So it's very much a step ladder process. But that's why precinct committee people are so important.
But also as precinct committee person, there are other ways. For example, when we had the state chair race, for example, this time there were multiple candidates, and our district chair asked counties to give input about the variety of candidates, and we actually created a questionnaire for the candidates to fill out, and that's something in our county we did involve the precinct committee folks with. Obviously, we need input from the people who are in the trenches and seeing what's happening on the ground. So, if you're not seeing that in your county, certainly there are routes to do that, to get involved at the larger level, but it may require organizing several of your teammates, of their other precinct committee people, to get an initiative like that going in your area.
Okay. Now, we did have another question come through. Catherine, thank you for that. Jamie has asked, will there be webinars or training for up to the state rep or Senate level?
We certainly could do that. It's what we've been doing. Amanda, would you like to cover the trustee group that we just did?
Yeah, we had a really wonderful conversation with several township trustees. The last one that we did for webinar number 2, and then coming up we have the county council webinar. And the goal here is to educate about lower offices that most people don't know about. A lot of people will know what a state rep does and what a senator does before they would know about a township trustee or a county council person. So we are going to get to those, and we will hopefully have actual current and former state representatives and state senators available to us to participate with us and and do just like what Carmen's doing tonight and give us some information about what they do. And of course, we'll be advertising those well in advance, so everyone that would like to attend can do that. We do have a couple of big names hopefully coming up soon, so more information on that to come. But yes, we will get up there. And Jamie, if you have a specific question that we didn't answer tonight, or if there's something that you need resources for, email us at 92counties@gmail.com, and we will be happy to get you the links and information and resources you need to answer your questions. 100%. So let's see, do we have any other questions tonight? We're finishing early.
Well, if I can for just a second, I'm obviously have a lot of research that I need to do into your project and everything, but I am going to try to run in 2018 for state representative in District 83, and my knowledge on politics and campaigning is almost nil, so I would be willing to take any little bit of help that I can. So that was why I asked that question, but I still have a lot of research on my own to do too.
Great.
So that really wasn't a question, just a thank you.
Oh, well, you know what? You're the exact kind of person that this is for. Someone that feels it in their gut, that feels like they could do a good job, and you're willing to teach yourself how to do it just because you think you can do a good job. And that's why we're here. We're here to fill in the gaps so you have the ability to do that. So if there's something that you don't understand or can't find, information you need, resources you need, you know, obviously we don't run campaigns, but I will email you links all day long.
Well, wonderful. I very well may take you up on that, so thank you.
All right, let's see. Anybody else have any other questions tonight? I think we might be done.
All right. Well, thank you for having me, Amanda.
Well, thanks, Carmen, and I'll talk to you soon, and I hope everything goes good for you this weekend. And if anybody has any questions, don't forget to email us, reach out on Facebook, find us on Twitter, and don't forget to share our stuff. That way we can get more people coming in and keep spreading the knowledge that we have available to us. So everybody have a great night, be kind, and we'll see you next time.